Max. Let's see. Max. All right, Max, you're hot. Hey, everybody, I'm just going to go through the sponsors real quick. We got Track Outdoors, Granny Made Cheesecake, Creekside Stitching and more, TechHollar.com, Jessica D. Williams Photography, the Appalachia TCG Group, Parkways Peddlers Mall, Sloan Chiropractic, and Rolton Community Council. And I'll let these guys take it over from here.
All right, thank you, Big John. This is Terry V. right here, Terry V. Salyer. I'm one of your co-hosts tonight. We want to welcome you to We the People of Eastern Kentucky, where we talk about economic development, we talk about community involvement, and we talk about political impact. So tonight we've got a great special guest. I want to take just a few minutes and let you know who our guests are going to be the next coming weeks and things. We've got Judge Matt Wireman will be coming to you live next week from the fiscal court down here in Magoffin County. And he's going to talk about a lot of the economic development issues, things like that's going to impact us. A lot of things that you probably don't know that are going on, particularly like our industrial park and things like that. And it's booming out there. Actually, the first phase of that is full, and they're looking to get additional property and things where they can expand some more. There's a lot of companies that are looking to come into the Magoffin County, Eastern Kentucky area to be able to grow their business and things of that nature. And that's one of the reasons we're here, folks. We the people, we want to know, we want to hear about you out there. If you have a topic, a person, an organization that you want to come and share with us here as a guest, we'd love to have you on here to be able to promote your business, to promote your association, your agency, or whatever. Along with Judge Wireman, we've got a gentleman from down in Perry County, because we the people of Eastern Kentucky, down in the Hazard Way. He's running for state representative down there, and he's going to come with us. Zach Hall is his name the week after, and talk about a little bit of his candidacy and what he's looking for Eastern Kentuckians and how he can help us out in the situations we need in the legislature down there. And then last but not least, this month, we've got You Asked For It. So any questions, concerns, emotional outbursts, or whatever, let us know what's on your mind, topics you want to do, and we'll talk that. It'll be kind of an open mic type deal where me and Mr. Cody here will talk back and forth, give you a little personal feeling maybe, or general feelings around the area. But we've got that coming up the last week of this month. And then we've got an organization that's coming new into Magoffin County. It's called CASA, and they work with the court systems on abused children, things of that nature, and placing them in foster homes. They're going to come with us. They were here a couple of weeks ago, but it was a situation to where we had a technical difficulty, similar to like what we're having tonight, but we got Big John back there running the board for us tonight, so things are really smoothing out for us. But we appreciate you all. Stay tuned. If you would, please look at all of our past episodes. We have those available on Appalachian Insider. We have them available on Facebook. We've got them on YouTube channel. We have a We the People of Eastern Kentucky YouTube. And Cody has also worked up a great thing that I like on Spotify, where you can do an audio version. You can be going down the road in your car or listening to episodes that we've had in the past. So we encourage you to do that. And most importantly, you know, our sponsors, like Big John had talked about there, this wouldn't be possible if we didn't have them be able to help us be able to do what we're doing tonight.
Well, one word of caution, considering the smooth melodic voice that Terry V. Salyer has, be careful about driving down the road listening to the audio version. It can lull you to sleep.
Lull you to sleep. So you're saying I'm boring?
No, it's not boring at all. It's more soothing.
Soothing?
Soothing is the word.
Oh, okay. Well, I need to get a little articulation maybe.
Enunciate.
Enunciate, okay. Project, pitch, okay. Well, we got a great guy with us tonight, and he's going to come and share. He's a old Magoffin Countyan, but he's done a lot of great work in the law enforcement area all through Eastern Kentucky, and he is one of ours now, right now. Sheriff Bill Meade is going to come and share with us here in a minute about a few things about his life and what he's been through growing up around this area, but he's also going to talk about how we need that community involvement. We need help from you all to be able to help make their jobs a little bit easier or whatever, but he needs your support too, to to be able to do some of the things that he wants to do in the future in the county and stuff. So without further ado, we'd like to welcome him tonight, Sheriff Bill Meade.
As you can let us know how the audio sounds right now, that'd be great.
Welcome, Mr. Sheriff Meade.
Well, welcome. I think probably it's a good thing that the law gets between the two of y'all before you throw down fists.
We were about to start scrapping. It's true.
Everybody needs a, what is it, a mitigator or mediator or whatever you call it, mediator?
Yes.
But thanks, Bill, for coming. We really appreciate it. Bill's a very dear friend of mine. We've done a lot of things together, but tonight I really wanted to have him on because I wanted you to see, much like some of the other guests we've had in the past week, like Jimmy Neal, Caldwell, and Representative John Blanton, we want you to get to know your sheriff. And that's the reason we asked Bill to come in, and we're excited about him being here tonight. And we want to welcome you, Sheriff.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
To kind of start things off here, being that you're a good old Magoffin County, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you grow up here? Is your heritage here? Did you go to school here? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your upbringing and all that good stuff.
All right. Well, actually, I'm a native of Johnson County.
Oh, okay.
We'll try not to hold that against
Well,
you.
yeah. Well, I have spent more than half of my life here in Magoffin County. I've been here for about 33, 34 years now.
Really?
And I'm originally from Johnson County. I went to Paintsville High School.
Oh, okay.
I grew up in town. I attended Paintsville High School. I graduated from Paintsville in 1980. And
Well, you're a youngster.
Yeah, I was almost born then.
I appreciate it. While you're driving, I'll be waiting on you.
That's right.
Whenever I graduated from high school, I attended, kind of tell you how old I am, Prestonsburg Community College, which is now KCTC.
Yeah.
Before that, it was BCTC.
PCC.
Yep,
Yeah.
PCC.
Big Sandy Community and Technical College
Yeah,
System.
yeah.
All right, well, there you go.
Yeah.
I studied criminal justice.
Well, let me stop you right there. Why in the world, out of high school and all that stuff, did you get into criminal justice? Why? What led you in that direction? I asked you
John
that
Blanton the
because
same thing.
I have a minor in criminal justice.
Really?
Yeah, so I mean,
Well, I'll tell you, whenever I've always been interested in law enforcement, and I don't know, I never really acted on it, and I have a family member, Tim Hazlett, who
Yeah.
was a state trooper at the time,
yeah, Tim.
and Tim, of course, he retired as a colonel with state police some years back, but.
Now, is he in relation to Scott?
Yes, that's Scott's brother.
Okay.
Oh, is it? I didn't know
Yes.
Tim and them were
Yeah,
brothers.
yeah,
Yeah.
They probably don't want to claim me, but yeah, I am. But I was really drawn to them, Polly, Step, Sluggo. There's, all those old troopers that worked Johnson, Magoffin, and Martin County, always kind of looked up to them. And
Now, did they work out of the Pikeville headquarters there? That's where they worked out of.
They
Post 9.
worked out of Post 9, Pikeville. And,
Yeah.
so I started digging in, started taking the classes, and I applied, and I was accepted into the academy in 1988, and I graduated out of cadet class 66, and I was assigned to the Pikeville post. I worked Pikeville for 2 years, and I got to come to Magoffin County.
Well, now,
Magoffin County's been my home ever since.
at that time, was a college education required to get into the academy?
No, at
I didn't
that
think so.
time, it wasn't required. There was, you had a senior trooper status, and if you had an associate's degree or better, you could, you'd qualify as a senior trooper within a year. If not, then it took several years longer before you qualify.
Right.
but back then,
Any heroes or anything like that other than Tim that brought you into that or kind of coaxed you into law enforcement?
John Wayne doesn't count.
don't want Well, no, I mean, there's, like I said, I looked up to all the troopers. Now,
Yeah.
there was Jack Music, who was a trooper.
Yeah, I remember Jack.
A detective.
He used to live in Oil Springs area.
Yes,
down
yes.
below me, yeah.
Yes,
Long time.
He was well known. As a matter of fact, there was an article about one of the murder investigations that he'd done in one of the magazines. Can't remember if it was a True Detective. It was one of those publications.
Wow.
But and then my father, Dad worked some for Paintsville City Police off and on, and that's Dad kind of instilled into me the qualities that I feel like I continue to hold strong to. I believe in fighting the good fight.
Sure.
I don't like bullies. I like I like to try to help people. And man, listen, I wouldn't have took $1 million and not been a state trooper.
Really?
And I've been blessed.
So you never regret that decision ever?
No. So I mean,
Wow.
I got some gray hair out of all this stuff and all, but listen, I love it. It's one of those things where you have to just accept the fact that you can only do what you can do.
Yeah.
And you just keep fighting the good fight. And I've had people that have told me, some people that I've arrested a bunch, that has told me, look, I appreciate what you did. I didn't appreciate it at the time. There was one person in particular, he had went on and he became an engineer and had a very successful life. And that's really what it's about.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
me. It's
Making an impact in other people's life, in
Yes.
a positive way.
When Bill, it occurs that any time that you have an officer of the law, they're called to service. So it's just like a military service.
Yes.
So then I have to ask, was there ever a time in your life to where you thought about being called to military service instead?
Whenever I was fresh out of high school, I had considered going into the military. I don't know how it would have worked out if I had. I believe strongly in military service. I love our military. I don't think that our veterans get enough
Yeah.
respect,
Yeah.
and they should have the best of everything.
I agree.
And so I mean, I'm very, very upholding to our service people. But
Somebody
know where I would
willing
be.
to give their life like that. And a lot of times young people today, it's the thing that breaks my heart, because I've been with young people my whole life, is they don't know what life or the hope of life and all that's about. So they don't realize that some of these guys from World War II or Vietnam or whatever, the stuff that they went through to be able to fight, that we have the freedom. And I think that's why we get a lot of these demonstrations on college campuses right now about what's happening over in the Middle East, with that. So
I think you're exactly right. There's a lot to be said for the service that our military has provided us, and I don't know. Maybe they just don't go into as much detail. I know one of my favorite classes in high school was civics, and we
It doesn't exist anymore.
well.
yeah.
Yeah, but listen, we had a nice old lady. She was Miss Mary McClafferty, and she probably didn't weigh 80 pounds, and she was definitely Irish. But she was an excellent teacher, and we would break down, and we would go through the legislative process. We would develop bills and go through all the different steps
Structure,
and stuff.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and a lot of our youth today don't have that, and they don't understand, the division of power in our government.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
love to see in Magoffin County in particular and a lot of larger schools do this, a student government body.
Yes.
So even a mock student government body where they understand the legislative, the judicial, all the sides of it.
Yes.
Well, and I think we've gone away from parties and stuff like that too. I mean, you usually have young Democrats or young Republican parties and stuff. You don't even see, that anymore. So that
Well, it's not even necessarily that. We've gone away, like I said, from civics in general.
Yeah.
We've replaced civics, and don't get me wrong, in modern society, it's completely understandable to need this too. But basically, we've replaced civics with civil engineering and computer coding. And I personally believe, and this is completely off topic of why we're here, but I personally believe that civics classes, for what we do especially,
Sure.
civics classes are just paramount.
Yeah, they are. Now, while you're in the state troopers and stuff, did you specialize in something, Bill? Or, because sometimes people go into different kind of investigations or whatever, and tell us a little bit about that, your experience there maybe.
Well, I was very blessed. I got to do a lot of different things with the state police. I got to be part of the riot team. I was a field training officer. I was a general investigations detective. I worked homicides, burglaries, thefts, all that type of stuff. And then I promoted to sergeant. And whenever I promoted to sergeant, I went to Moorhead. So I went to another post, and I was the administrative sergeant there. And basically, my function was to oversee reports and things like that, automotive repairs and those type of things. And I was over the civilian personnel there at the post.
Okay.
And then I got to come back to Pikeville as a road a supervisor, sergeant for road units, and then was later switched over to detective sergeant. And I was primary evidence officer, and then I had an opportunity that came up, and I got selected to go to DESI, that's Drug Enforcement Special Investigations East Branch.
Yeah.
And we dealt with, we worked a lot with the different federal law enforcement entities. We did the large drug trafficking cases. We done the Florida pipeline stuff. All the larger type stuff is what we done.
Yeah.
So you did field training?
Yes.
Terry, listen, in case you don't know this, I don't know if you know or not, you have not lived until you've been pepper sprayed, run the gauntlet, and then had to tell the perp to drop the knife. Drop the knife. Or the gun.
Jeez.
Whichever one it may be.
No, I don't want to be pepper sprayed by anybody. I'll just tell you that.
You have not
Unless
lived,
I'm doing
have
the
you, Bill?
spraying, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well,
Get one across the forehead and then a little spritz of water so it runs down.
Oh,
well,
Come out of everywhere, don't you?
no, it's bad.
It's beautiful.
It's bad. We,
I got
had,
pictures. I'll show you sometime.
I had another officer, and I won't mention his name. He done something you're not supposed to do. We're in a confined room, and he decides to hit this guy with pepper spray, and there's
my
nowhere
God.
for it to go, but all over
yeah,
us.
all over the room. Yeah.
And
Gee.
Post couldn't get a hold of me. I couldn't talk.
Oh God.
I couldn't hardly breathe, and so they had troopers coming from Floyd and Johnson County to me before I could get on the radio and say, "Hey, everything's fine."
Wow.
But,
Well, you know,
it's not good.
it's funny because my travels and my business, I've been able to go all across the state and meet with judge execs and sheriffs and things of that nature. I guess you could say that we are blessed because we have a sheriff here in Magoffin County that has the experience that you've had, because sometimes in some other places, the sheriff has no law enforcement experience whatsoever. You know, they're running as a political party sometimes, and that's one thing, you know, when you decided to run here in Magoffin, it was always of interest to me because I knew that you had the experience to be able to put behind the job, whereas my experience in the past, some of these other individual counties did not have that experienced person. So I think that we're blessed to be able to have that opportunity with you.
So you're saying John Smith may be a wonderful librarian, but may not qualify.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, we live in a different world today. 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't quite as important for that kind of an experience. But today, the liability issues, they've got the training requirements now for law enforcement officers to meet to be able to enforce the law, and Kentucky's gradually going away from that. We're seeing primarily trained.
Do we still have grandfather system?
Well, there's some law enforcement officers that were grandfathered in some years back, but now you're required to attend training.
As we all know, a sheriff position is an elected official, things of that nature, and Sheriff Meade coming here and sharing with us. Everybody has kind of an idea, I think, of what the job would be. And tell us and share with us as viewers tonight, was it what you thought it would be, or is it something more, or was it a shock to you, or just how was it? Because I know you really can't prepare
yourself. What caught
yourself.
you off guard, Bill?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, state trooper to elected sheriff.
Yeah.
Much smaller area. There are differences.
Well, I have to say I love the work. I mean, it's all I know. It's my skill set.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's it's pretty much what I expected it to be. There's some things. I'm trying to juggle the administrative side of the job along with doing the drug investigations. It's harder to be able to pump out as many cases doing both. I have one of the deputies that I've been working with, and Tyler Lafferty. He's been helping me do some of the drug work, the hours are long. I put in easily 80 hours a week. It's tough on the families, and that's the thing that I think most people don't realize is, they expect you to be there all the time, and that's what I signed up for. It's my job.
Right.
If there's a need, I'll be there.
Absolutely.
But I'm like everyone else. I have a family, so I've got to try to juggle time in with my children and my wife. And
you've got a young boy and a girl, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yes, I got a 16-year-old girl and soon to be 13-year-old boy.
Well, you got teenagers.
I've got teenagers.
Me too.
The terrible teens,
They're
huh?
terrible. Yeah.
You touched on something there, Bill, that a lot of people don't consider. Everybody can realize that sheriff is a law enforcement position, and it's one of the highest law enforcement positions in the county. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people don't consider that the actual sheriff, now not the deputy sheriff, the actual sheriff is also the boss and has administrative duties. Like you got to make sure that the budget is correct. You got to make sure that the lights are paid or on. You got to make sure that the bills are paid, that your men are getting paid. There's a lot of administrative duty that people just don't consider. You're not just working as a law enforcement officer. You're literally managing a company as well.
Well, some of the taxes, didn't that come through your office and things, the collection of the taxes and stuff like that? I mean,
that was the original purpose of a sheriff.
That would be a tough job to be able to do all that, keep track of all that.
Yeah, that's a statutory duty, is the taxes, servicing the courts and that type of thing.
The very first sheriffs in history were tax collectors.
Yeah.
Sheriffs, making good old wins.
Sheriff.
Yeah. But it's in today's time, you have to do the law enforcement side of it too, because they're just not. State police does not have the manpower to handle all the calls. So the thing that I think a lot of people don't really understand is that we're covering the county with a a certain number of deputies, some of which are volunteers. And we answered, I'll give you a good example. Last year we answered, I believe it was 4,154 complaints.
Goodness.
And
In a year's time?
in a year's time. Those are calls that came into our 911 system. State police answered 73, and I think the city had answered about 1,000, something like that. And you know, whenever you take that and you factor in your prisoner transports, you know, you got to take, we got to transport people to mental facilities. I mean, it really stretches you thin. And, you know, you've got so many things that you need to do and that you want to do. It's just being able to squeeze.
Have the time to do it.
Yes.
In the modern post George Floyd environment, law enforcement, it's the best way. I'm trying to figure out the best way to put this. Law enforcement has a hard time, from my perspective, of recruiting honest young individuals who want to get into the business. So one of the reasons that Terry and I was looking forward to bringing you on here, Bill, was just to be able to, like he asked you about your heroes, people that you looked up to, you know, for you to be able to say to young people out there, hey, this is a good career, this is an honest career, this is a career that will give you a fulfilling life, maybe consider it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, whenever I first came on, you had to beat people away from wanting to be troopers, deputies, city police officers. I know whenever my class, there was over, I think about 3,400 applicants. They took 50 of us.
Really?
And nowadays, you're lucky to get 200 or 300 to fill the slots. And then, you know, you're going to lose people through background checks and things like that.
They've actually lowered the education requirement, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure if they've lowered it or not, but
I believe the high school diploma now.
Well, one of the things that in my travels, I guess you could say, is it Greg Motley over in Morgan County?
my buddy Greg,
He and I talked a lot, you know, when I was on the campaign trail, and he said, Terry, I'm just going to tell you, because I'd ask him, what can I do to help you, Greg? And he's saying, well, I'll just tell you one thing. And I said, what's that? And he says, I have some of the best deputies ever was, but state troopers come in here and offer them $10,000 to $12,000 more a year, and they're gone.
It's a lot more than that now.
Is it really?
Oh, absolutely.
You
Wow.
know, yeah, I think, you know, trooper probably knocked down about $50,000-$60,000 right off the bat. I started off at $16,500.
Is
Yeah,
that right?
It's 60. It's 60 something now,
Yeah.
and then
Wow.
if you were retired, you can pull down, I think, 80. Come back.
You know, we are blessed with a lot of people in our area in particular that have like state trooper training and stuff like that. You mentioned Tim, but Scott over in Johnson County,
Johnson County Sheriff.
yeah, he's old state trooper too, isn't he?
Yep.
And then Dwayne Price, that was a sheriff before that, he was a state trooper.
Byron
and,
is the administrator at the Big Sandy Jail. He's a former trooper.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of guys that continue, like we're saying, this is a good opportunity maybe to stay in law enforcement, doing something, if that's something you like, particularly for a young person. I know they're bugging the heck out of them now for correctional officers.
Yeah. You touched on something there, though, true, Terry, that is true. I mean, you look at, it's the same thing, and this is just basic economics across the board. So it's the same thing as Paul B. Hall. Why would I work as a nurse at Paul B. Hall when I can drive to Pikeville and make twice the money?
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Makes it
so
tough.
You have to have some connection. So if you're going to be a deputy in Magoffin County, or in, I think you said Morgan County is where you were talking about.
Yeah, I was talking about
It has to be because you care about that area.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Greg's an old academy graduate. We graduated together.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a great guy. I love talking to him.
He's top notch.
And he is true people. I mean,
yeah.
he is concerned about his people, and he does an excellent job over there, I think, with Celebrity. Well, let me ask you this, Bill. Being that you've done this most of your life, how does the politics of stuff, does that ever interfere with your job of being a sheriff? You know, because like you mentioned, you you have, and before we came on, that you and Judge Wireman, the fiscal court's been pretty good to you.
They've been awesome to us.
And been able to help you out, and getting an increase in personnel due to the calls that you have and things of that nature. What could we do as a community to be able to support you and help you? Is there things that we can do to help your job be easier, you think?
Well, first, I want to kind of expand a little bit on what you said.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you right now, as the sheriff, the head law enforcement officer in any county, if you're going to be successful, you're going to need the support of your county judge and your fiscal court.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot say enough good things about the judge and the people we've got on the fiscal court. I think we all have a desire to do what's best for the county, and in the end, that's what it's all about. Is we hold a political position, but our purpose is to help the county and the people of the county.
Yeah.
And as far as the politics of it goes, whenever I ran, I told them the fact of it. I'm not a politician. I'm a law enforcement officer.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be from a different party, and you can still find things to agree on, and sometimes you agree to disagree.
Yeah.
That's one of the wonderful things about this country. I mean, we're not all molded into one thing. Party doesn't matter to me. I vote for who I think's going to do the best job for the people of the county.
In that sense, Bill, you're in one of the few political jobs, and this is my opinion personally, you're in one of the few political jobs that is very insulated from politics. And that if you are a good sheriff and you protect the people and you make the county a better place, party politics ain't going to come too much into consideration on that. If this man has done a good job, he's protected the people, we've enjoyed having him, he's done a good job cleaning up the areas and making sure that we don't have drugs running rampant through the streets, it's hard to argue that kind of result.
Well, it goes back to where I've talked many times before, the old mamaw papaw politics, everybody working together. It's nice that you have a Democratic judge and you've got a Republican sheriff. Mm-hmm. And that says a whole lot for the people, I think, in Magoffin County. You look for experience, you look for leadership, you look for people that's going to lead you in a direction. You look for experience behind that to be able to do it. And that's hats off to our people here in Magoffin County, because I feel that we have good leadership now in a lot of the positions we have, and we can't say that in a lot of other places, really.
Oh, absolutely.
But I see that coming together a lot, and that's awesome.
Well, I go to all the fiscal court meetings, and I can tell you there's hope ahead for us.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff you're going to be touching on here soon. I mean, we got people that are looking for things to bring into our county.
Mm-hmm.
Now to kind of get back to what we were talking about before, I think the biggest thing for us is we just need the support of our county. Look, it's a huge job, and I know there's a lot of things that needs to get done. Everybody would like for them to get done yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen. I can tell you right now, we've been able to pretty much finalize a federal case. We've got several more in the workings. I've made myself and my deputy Tyler, we have made a lot of drug buys, and we're going to have a lot of indictments coming down. Mm-hmm. You may not see a bunch of indictments yet. Drug work is a little different. It takes some time, and you have to stretch your resources as far as you can. But I can assure you this: whenever we take a case to whether it's state court or federal court, it's going to be a solid investigation. And it's going to be one that a prosecutor should be able to get a win on. And, you know, again, I mean, we could buy all day long off these street dealers, and we could lock them up right and left. But are we serving a purpose? No, we're not. We're running up a bill for the jail for people that are going to plead guilty, spend 6 months or so in jail, come back and do the same thing. What we're doing right now, what we're working on, and what I think that you will see over a period of this first term is we're going to be hitting people that is bringing the big quantities of drugs into the county. These are the people that are insulating themselves with these poor old souls that are hooked on the drugs. They're making these sales not to make a bunch of money. They just enough to get a fix. And so we're going after the source of the problem, and we're able to work with the state police, with the ATF, DEA. We've been able to develop some really good cases with this, and you're going to see a lot of good things.
What you're
So
talking
you're telling me that the job's not done.
It's far from done.
How long you been in there now?
It's a year, almost a year and a half.
Almost a year and a half. So we're looking beyond those years, setting the footprints and the foundations for things maybe to come. And
Yes, you know, look, obviously, you know, I made a promise to people, and I'm serious about the promise that I made. You know, we're gonna get the job done if it kills me. But my goal is beyond my term. My goal is I want to develop a professional sheriff's office. I want to instill the core values that we need here in Magoffin County to serve the people of our county and to provide them the best law enforcement service that we can. And not only in doing that, in, you know, trying to drop the overdose deaths and all these negative things that goes along with that, but our economy. We're looking at bringing businesses into Magoffin County. We want to bring work to our people here.
yeah.
You know, it's awful that we've got to send people 2-3 hours or out of state to make a living for their family.
Yeah.
Well, if they're out of state, they're missing being around their children. If they're driving 3 hours one way, that's 6 hours a day plus their work. Listen, they're going to work, they're coming home, they're eating, they're sleeping, and they don't get to be with their family.
And the economy where they are at are reaping the benefits of their money.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And but I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, Bill, because you're talking about, and what you were saying there was basically have patience. But you know, Elliot Ness, I'm sure you're familiar with Elliot. You know, it took years to lay that. And in all seriousness, the drug war is quite literally, and you know, not to make it sound too Al Capone, is quite literally organized crime.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'd
when
say,
you're
yeah.
dealing with organized, detailed thought process crime, it's going to take a while.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. But you know, that's, you know, the thing is, you know, we want to be able to show these people that are coming in looking to invest in this county, hey, they've got law enforcement here. You know, they look at these things.
Yes, I do. Look
They
at
do.
evereducation, housing, law
Absolutely.
enforcement, all that, yeah.
So, you know, look, the bottom line is, and I feel like everybody we've got in office right now, I believe they believe this, or I like to think that they do, is, look, the only thing that matters is the common good. And that's the way it should happen. And that's the way it should be statewide, nationwide, is let's get back to taking care of our folks. And
Well, that
Try to
kind of
do the
leads
right thing.
leads me into this question, which I asked John. You know, John Blanton he's a clergyman. You know, he's a minister of the gospel, and I know your faith's important to you. And I'd say sometimes, does it ever get in your way, you think, or does that have a personal thing that where it hits you there, or whatever, or how does your faith really intertwine with your job or what you're trying to do? Is it complimented? Does it disagree with it, or?
well, no,
It's a delicate situation. It has to be.
It is.
It's one of those things where, you know, I certainly ask for forgiveness daily, as we all, you know, should, because we all fall short. But,
Yeah.
you know, I got into this work in the beginning and even to this present because I want to do good. You know, obviously you have to love people. You might want to choke them, and you might even you might have some bad thoughts at the time, but you really care for them. But my faith is very important to me. Like I say, I struggle with thoughts and things like everybody else does.
Yeah.
But no, it's very important, and I think that's part of what makes me who I am.
Yeah.
I have a very strong belief system, and I believe in treating everybody right, irregardless of what your situation is.
Yeah.
Well, you got to ask, Bill. I mean, because this touches on faith, and I have to ask this because I've seen it. When you've gone up and you arrested the same person 17 times, and you see them killing themselves, and not only are they killing themselves, they're killing their family members. Mm-hmm. They're neglecting their children, and so on and so forth. How do you not get to a point of just absolute burnout to where I'm just done with you? I don't. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's true in all occupations. Sometimes you've got to take a little break, a little vacation, a long weekend, something kind of straighten yourself up a little bit. But it is very frustrating. And you know, whenever you look at these children that are living in homes where you know, the conditions are just horrible. You know, you have situations where grandparents are having to raise grandchildren because the parents are so strung out. And you know, and good people. I mean, good people fall into this trap. It just happens to be, you know, drugs the weakness or the alcohol's the weakness. I mean,
They say Oxycontin was a great equalizer. Rich or poor, it hit everybody.
Well, and that's true with all this stuff. I mean,
I feel like that was the start, though. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, that's whenever we really started having these pill mills and things.
Yeah.
It was
And
a bad time.
you would see people from upper background, lower background, middle back, all of them.
All classes.
The equalizer was this pill form of heroin.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of the things I know, because like I said, my background's political science, criminal justice, and I have a minor in corrections too. So, you know, law enforcement was always something for me. And one of the things was two factors which really kind of kept me from going into it, because I had reached my final interview with the FBI. And I remember I was in Ashland, Kentucky, going through it, and I was going to make it. I was going, and with Wendell Ford helping me, you know, he was a good resource there. But that was the day that 5 agents got killed in a shootout in Atlanta. So that kind of changed my mind a little bit, and I said, well, maybe I can be a state trooper. And then Johnny Edgerton, I went to school with him at Campbellsville.
Did you?
Yes, and he was killed down by London.
That happened while I was in the academy.
Is that right?
We were getting ready to have.
And he was a
family day.
dear friend of mine, and a real good lady from Louisville. Was he, you know, married and getting ready to be married and all that stuff, and it was a tragedy for me. So that kind of took me back a little bit there for a while. And you know, suicide's tough.
Oh yeah.
Amongst law enforcement people, you know, along with the military, you know, and so you know, that stress and that strain's really got away.
Law enforcement and corrections officers in particular.
Yeah.
Corrections officers are some of the highest suicide rate in the country.
Yeah. So.
All day, every day, you go to work every day and somebody say, "How was work?" Well, I feel like I've been prison.
Yeah. Yeah. I can
I'd
imagine.
much rather put them there than the babysitter. But yeah, there's a stress associated with that stuff, and you know, and the thing that, you know, nobody really talks about or thinks about is, you know, as tough as it is for those that do the job, is their family.
Yeah.
you know, the wives, the children, you know, you're in law enforcement, you know, unless you've been on for a very long time, you work the worst schedules.
Yeah.
You work the holidays, you work the weekends, you know, you're subject to call.
On
and they
call
call you out.
24/7.
And, you know, your family has to do without a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that's why you have a lot of turnover. And, you know, a lot of people leave, you know, that field.
So you're saying it needs to be a calling, really?
Yes. Well, if it's for the right purposes, that's what it is. You know, I mean, you got good and bad in law enforcement just like you do with any other occupation. Some people want to look pretty in the uniform. They want to have the authority.
Yeah.
But look, if you're doing it for the right reason, there's not a better calling. You know, I look at it like this. You might get away with it, but whenever I stop you on the street and I arrest you, you're going to jail. That's on me. Now, from that point on, that's as far as I can go, and it's nothing personal. But, you know, it's all about trying to do the right thing. That was one of the things, you know, that Dad always taught me. Do the right thing. Try to do the right thing. We're all going to make mistakes and stuff like that, but for the most part, if you try to do the right thing, I don't think you can go wrong.
Well, you know, there's a guy that kind of was my foundation and all that, and I used to watch Beretta on TV, and that may be before your time.
Well, yeah,
You know, Robert Blake, he'd get up there, and before he closed any show out, he said, "Don't do the crime if you can't pay the time." And it really taught me about consequences. You know, when people do everything that you do, there's a consequence based on what you're doing. And that's a tough slogan, really.
Let me ask you this, Bill. Are you familiar with Jocko Willings?
I can't place
He is a retired United States Navy SEAL.
He ain't got time to watch YouTube.
That's probably true. He's a retired Navy SEAL. He was one of the Navy SEALs that handled Iraq. I mean, he was one of the commanders. Okay. And one of the things that he was talking about recently a while back was law enforcement. And you mentioned that there were some people that get into law enforcement because they like the uniform and they want the power and stuff like that. And overall, pretty much everybody can agree that's probably not the person that should be in law enforcement.
No.
And one of the things that he recommended, and I found this interesting, I wanted to get your opinion on it, was, you know, they went through a long spell there where they were hollering defund the police. His counter was, no, we need to fund them at about $180,000 a year, and we need to put them through buds just like Navy SEALs. And then anybody that stays is in it for the right reason. You don't hear about bad Navy SEALs.
Oh, yeah. That's
And then the reason I bring this up is because, as you've said a few times, you know, it was a calling for you. Probably no matter what they put you through, you was going to get through it and become a state trooper.
Yeah.
So, what is your thoughts on? Okay, we're gonna weed out and make sure we got the very best of the best. We're gonna treat you like SEALs. You're gonna be, if you want to do this, we're gonna pay you very, very well. You're gonna have amazing benefits, but you're gonna be the best at it.
I don't know. At one time, that might work, but society has changed so much. You know, I'm not saying that a lot of the youth don't have the grit, but I don't think that we've got the same generations that we had.
I mean, we still get SEALs.
That, yeah,
You know?
I know, but you know, you're talking about the law enforcement side. You can't even find people to take jobs as court security or to work at the schools as resource officers.
But what would you consider about the argument of just the economics? That's why I specified.
Well, I think
that's why I specified pay
Yes.
well.
Yes, absolutely. Look, there is no one in law enforcement that should not be making at least $20 to $25 an hour, at least.
If you're shooting at me,
lot.
I want you to pay me.
Yeah, well,
The end.
well, you
That's
know,
the end of the story.
The thing is you don't know from 1 second to the next if that's going to be your last stop.
Absolutely.
And
right,
you
that's
know,
That's
a
tough.
lot of people thought, you know, whenever a lot of people were under the misconception that, you know, whenever the state police got this large pay raise, that everybody got it. Well, they didn't.
No.
And you know, and that's great. I'm glad the state police got it. You know, I used to be a trooper, like to starve to death whenever I started, and I'm glad they're making more money. But I think everybody in law enforcement, if you're able to go through the training and you can do the job, there needs to be money there. So as far as you like the defund the police, well, they need to fund the police.
Yeah.
That's basically the argument
Yes.
that I'm making.
Yes.
Yeah.
They need
Fund
to
them heavily.
Yes.
Give them. I mean, they give them a 6-figure salary, but then put them through basically BUDS training. Now we're gonna make sure that you have the best insurance possible. You're gonna make a 6-figure salary. You're gonna have a wonderful job, but you are gonna earn every second of this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then you get the best.
But you know what? Whenever I went through, like I said, I started off at 16.5. Listen, like I said, you couldn't have given me $1 million. At 16.5 was fine.
Well,
I ate bologna a lot,
You're
but I got to be a trooper.
You're proving my point, though, Bill.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that will
Yeah.
be the good ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those are the
right.
ones that are going to stick it out through the BUDS training or whatever it is. And then they get the perk of, okay, yeah, I'm having to put on this this bulletproof vest every day, and it hurts and it causes a rash under my armpits, but I make a great living for my family, and I get to do what I love.
Yeah, absolutely. Protect the people
And I
too.
get to protect
yeah.
people.
That's right. What do you see in the future, Bill? Is there any technology stuff, anything that can help you guys, or stuff that we could talk to old John Blanton or whatever and get you some money or whatever? But there's always things that I think.
Let's preface this by saying this stuff scares the life out of me.
What's that?
The facial recognition software.
Oh,
and
yeah,
all
yeah.
that stuff.
The Big Brother stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when you start having facial recognition at traffic lights,
Oh yeah.
Well, you know,
and I get that it does make the job easier. I completely understand that side of it, that it can cut down on a lot of crime.
I
but
would
it's
say
just-
in your time when you started as a trooper to what you have available to you now, I see computerized stuff in every cruiser and all that kind of deal, and
fingerprints are solid.
the
completely
ability
digital.
to go back and with a database and to check out a license plate or anybody like
Yeah.
that.
You print
88
somebody, it's fully digital.
yeah, in '88 they was telling us, hey, we're going to be getting computers in the cars and stuff, and I guess it's about 20 years later before we got them.
Is that right?
Of course, the big cities, San
Oh, yeah,
Francisco, and
yeah.
a place like that had it. But
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that would benefit, and I'm not just saying Magoffin County, but every county that does not have a large revenue source like some of these big counties do.
Yeah.
We need help through, and I guess it would have to go through the legislators, and then it would have to be, approved through the governor. But we need help financially. We need to have, in addition to our what we collect in taxes, which really is not nearly enough to run an office. But we need additional funding to where, hey, we can have, a couple of extra deputies. We can pay these deputies a little extra money, to where they can survive. And, we need to be able to have some better equipment. And I can tell you right now, whenever we came into office, we were in really bad shape. Our vehicles were wore out. The fiscal court has helped us, get some vehicles and has helped us get some computers and things that we absolutely needed. And I can't say enough about that. But what I'm saying is, beyond that, there's a limit on what each county can do because they've got limited funding as well too. But there's enough waste in government to where I think money could be applied to those things that we really need, and law enforcement is one of those things.
What do you think about these neighborhood watches and stuff?
I
Yeah.
think it's great.
Those civilians of people that get together to watch their block or their neighborhood and stuff.
Is that
What's your
feasible in a
feelings?
county like
Yeah, that's
Magoffin?
what I was.
Where everybody's
gonna ask
spread
him
out,
that, yeah.
it's not really a
Yeah.
thing, get it?
Well, you know, there's some areas that it would
Cul-de-sacs
work and
maybe,
some-
like, you know, Dixie.
Yeah,
There-
yeah.
There's some areas where it would help, but see, that's where good old fashioned law enforcement can kind of come into play. We're doing it. We're not doing it as much as what I would really like, but we're doing as much as we possibly can. Is, you know, whenever I came in, whenever I was running, I told people, hey, my intentions are to have a deputy all over the county. Now, we might not be here every week. We might not be here 2 or 3 times a week, but we're going to try to go to all the places in the county. And
Magoffin is a big county.
yeah, well, it is. Whenever you start
Yeah,
going,
geographically,
Yes.
yeah, in the state, yeah.
but I think things like the old-fashioned style of policing. You know, I can think back whenever I was a trooper. Listen, I'd go out in the county. I'd catch somebody out. I'd pull over and I'd talk to them.
Yeah,
You know, you find a lot of things out.
yeah,
Talking to good old folks out here in the county, what's going on.
yeah.
Of course, you don't see as many of the old mom and pop places like you used to, but you know, I used to go in, I'd get a sandwich here or a sandwich there, get some chips or whatever, and talk to people.
Yeah,
Talk to the people in the county, let them get to know you, you get to know them. People will tell you what's going on in their county.
that's right.
Well, it's overall safer for the officer too. When there's an emotional connection with the community members that you're serving,
Yeah.
they don't want to see this officer shot. This is their friend who they talk to. So I mean, I absolutely agree with that. Bill, I got to ask, because you mentioned you'd like to have a couple more deputies that could afford to survive, and the way you particularly worded that really hit me. Why is it, in your opinion, and I'm this to you too, Terry?
Sure.
In your opinion, why is it in society, when we have CEOs making $40 billion a year or $40 million golden parachute packages when they get fired, is it that stuff like jobs that actually require a calling, like you do this because you love it, like teacher, paramedic, firefighter, police officer? Why just because you have the calling and you're willing to put up with making $16,000 a year starting out, are you expected to?
Yeah, you know, society, today's society is, it's jacked up. You got athletes.
Oh, I'm sorry, nurses. This is Nurse Week. Definitely nurses.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my wife's one, so yes, definitely.
Definitely nurses.
Definitely
Definitely.
nurse week. Yeah.
But, you know, we have athletes making millions and millions of dollars.
Oh yeah.
You know, look, I mean, it's a game, guys. Yeah, you know, they might have a short career, but how many millions does it take for you to be able to survive on?
Oh yeah.
And you've got people out here that that's making $20,000 and $30,000 a year, just trying to feed their family and trying to have something.
And then that's the reason that I bring this up, is because, okay, imagine I'm the king and I can make the decisions.
Sure.
In that very instant, the people whose job, whose line of work most benefits society as a whole are the ones that get paid the best. The nurses, the firefighters, the police officers, the people who, just by their very presence and by the fact that they had a calling to help other people.
Well, you know, the biggest thing that I always used to, and because I had a lot of Kroger. I worked at Kroger for 18 and a half years in management. And I had a lot of young people, college students, that were there maybe for the summer. And they said, Mr. Salyer, I've got a problem. I said, what is it, son? He said, well, I'm back there in that meat department, and I work 30 hours a week, and I do all the stuff that I'm told to do, and I make $6.25 an hour. Now, this is a few years back. But he says, then I look around, and I've got that head meat cutter over there, and he's making almost $30 an hour, counting fringes and everything. You know, it don't seem right because we're doing the same kind of work. And I said, well, I'm going to ask you one question. How long you worked here? And he said, well, I've been here maybe 3 or 4 months. And I said, well, how long is that guy that's the head meat cutter now? How long has he worked here? And he said, well, I don't really know. I said, have you ever asked him about it? I said, he's got 32 years to get to where he's making that amount of money. He's invested his life. He's put the time in. His family's had sacrifices and stuff like that. And I think, if you put 30 years in, guess what? You will probably be at that same rate one day in your life.
Now let me counter though, Terry.
Okay.
I got to. Here's my counter.
Sure.
I believe in the American dream.
Boy, everybody does.
And because I believe in the American dream, I believe if you work a full-time job, 40 hours a week, bare minimum,
Sure.
you are to be a middle-class life that can raise a family on a single income. I don't think that you should have to invest 30 years of your life to be able to get to the point that you are middle class. In fact, I think at that 30 years, this man should have been able to retire with $1 million in the bank, and he should be wealthy.
Well,
He should have started at middle class working a full-time job, and then by 30 years, he's wealthy, retired, has a nice home, a nice vehicle, and he's done.
yeah, he's got a boat, and he probably goes on vacation 3 or 4 times a year.
But my point is you shouldn't have to spend 7 years building up to the point that you can survive.
Well, I mean, if companies could afford that and stuff like that, I'm sure that they would do that. But the situation you've got there
Kroger,
is,
Terry?
I asked them, next, what's the most important thing to you with the money that you make? Well, I work to pay my car insurance. Response immediately back. I said, okay, who pays for your car? Well, my folks, they bought me a car in graduation and stuff. And I said, do you live by yourself? No, I stay at home with my folks. And I said, well, who buys the clothes on your back and who feeds you? Who gives you a house? This gentleman has raised 5 kids. He's got 2 of them in college right now. So that money that he does make goes to be able to do that. He's impacting more people with that life of what he's doing, that he needs that to be able, rather than just have car insurance.
All right.
You got more ambitions and things to look at.
But I got to counter again.
This is for another day now.
Oh, I got to counter again. I got to counter again. Now, this young man that you're talking to,
Sure.
let's go ahead and assume he's at least 18 years of age.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, now let's assume that at 18 years of age, he started in at Kroger's, and he started in at a full middle-class pay scale. Now, you're right. He may have started in having no expense except I've got car insurance. But then he starts making a middle-class salary.
Okay.
He starts moving. He moves out of mom and dad's house. He'll find a wife. He'll have some children. He'll start paying for his own car. Because now, as an adult making a middle-class salary, he's not just going to let that money hoard up somewhere. He's going to start getting the things that an adult male would want to have.
You would hope.
I want a boat.
You would hope.
That's what's happened all throughout the history of America.
Well, like I said, that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah, but it's going to be a fun one.
Well, it will be. But, because, I've been there and I've been with kids my whole life. And it goes back, I think, what Bill and them shared and like his calling and things. There's such things as loyalty. There's such things as,
No, I agree with that 100%.
Sacrifice. There's such abilities to place others before yourself. And I think from what I see right now, and like I said, I have worked and dealt with young people my whole life, and I think we have made mistakes as adults a lot of times. It was tough for us growing up. I had to get out there, and if I wanted a bicycle, I had to mow the yard to get money to be able to get that bicycle. My folks didn't have the money to buy me a bicycle. I knew what the sense of the worth was for that bicycle. I knew that I had to mow lawns for a month in order to get that $59 bicycle. So the worth of that, there was a sacrifice and something to be able to do that. Now, the ideology we have a lot of times with our kids is, Daddy, I want a bicycle. Well, son, let's go to Walmart and get you one right now. And a lot of times...
That's your meat cutter, Terry.
Well, a lot of times kids don't realize the value, and this happened to my granddaughter not too long ago.
Daddy's
She comes
the meat
up to
cutter,
me,
though,
she
Terry.
comes up to me and said, Papa, I'd like to do this and I'd like to do that and all that kind of stuff. And I said, okay, do you realize what it takes Papaw to do for a half a day for you to have that? I have to work a half a day of my life to give you that $100 that you need to go out there and buy that phone or that iPad or whatever they want. So we have spoiled our kids to where we have given them things that we could not have, and wanting them to have that they've lost the value of what working is for.
That's the point, that we work so hard, those we can get.
Yeah, but see, here's my
That's true.
only and final counter. The two biggest
How in
tax
the world we
breaks.
get on this, Bill?
I don't know, but
I'm just listening. I'm just
here's my final and only counter. The two
Yeah.
biggest tax breaks in America, period, are capital gains tax break. That means any money that you have invested in stocks. And mortgage tax break. That means you have a home. Okay? The people who have stocks and homes are retired. Last year, for the first time in American history since the American economy started, 30-year-olds now make less than their parents would when
Well,
adjusted for inflation.
There's also losses in the stock market too.
There are.
And if we look back in 401ks,
But the 30-year-olds don't own the
and-
stocks. That's the
Well,
point.
that's the point I'm trying to make, though. It's going to be a give and take on both sides. There's no absolute answer for that, and I don't think the answer is throwing money at people.
Oh, I don't know.
And it goes back to here. When Greg and I were talking over Morgan County, he says, I don't blame them. When they go up and get $12,000, $15,000 more dollars on the year, I'm all for them, and I stand up and clap for them but I have helped them get to the point to where they may be able to go work for that state trooper job and better their life and better their situation, for their family and stuff like that. So more power to them. Now, a wise old man told me a long time ago too, and I used to be a meat cutter with Kroger, and I used to train apprentices how to cut meat. Well, one of the biggest things was I'd go to a journeyman meat cutter, been around 30 years, and I said, you need to kind of take him underneath your shoulder and show him how you can do stuff. I said, I ain't going to do that. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I'm not going to train somebody else to take my job. So his attitude there was not right either, but there was a point of, I always said, train him, bring him up, because guess what? A little bit of you is in that person to be able to get ahead and stuff. And I think that's where we've gotten away from, like I've always talked before, Mom and Pop, you say, Bill, do the right thing and take care of people. And it's true. If we do that, then I think you're going to get the rewards from that. You're going to have better deputies. Everybody turnover rate is so crazy in a lot of business, because you can wave at one time there after COVID a $2 raise in front of somebody and zip, they were gone, and people could not retain people.
And I agree. See, when you said that you request loyalty,
Well, I don't request it.
demand loyalty.
No, I don't demand it.
I will absolutely agree.
I respect them, and if I am the type of person to them as I should be, then the respect will come.
I agree that loyalty is something that should be had in an employee, but then I go back, and this will be probably my end statement on all of it, is that I go back in the end of time until I die. I will believe that just because you have a calling to do a job to help society doesn't mean you should have to starve to death to do it.
Well, I agree, but the old adage goes, we can go from the biblical principle. Everybody knows who Jesus Christ was. He was the Son of God. He brought down here is the perfect example of how much love that God loves us and stuff. He had all the authority in the world
And he
as
gave
being
people-
the Son of God.
And he gave people fish.
And he walks down on the boat there and looks at Peter and Andrew and them in the boat, says, cast the nets over here. And they did, and they all got all the fish, like that the story goes. But the moral from that story is this. He didn't tell those people that, hey, you guys are going to come and be the 12 disciples. We're going to go out here and we're going to save the world. We're going to be preachers. We're going to heal the sick, and we're going to bring the dead back to life. He said, come and see. Simple words.
Make you a fisher of men.
That's right. You may be a fisher here, but I'm going to make you this. So That's what I would like to see.
See, the moral to the story I got from that
More
one
Bill
is,
Meades,
the
like
moral-
what we got.
the moral I got from that one is work for me and you'll eat well.
That leaves the spiritual part out of it. Well, I guess we got to wrap up. Bill,
This is dropped completely off.
My Sheriff
law
Meade,
enforcement bill. I apologize.
thank you so much. You never know what you're going to get out of this. I'm just telling you. But
Let's thank our sponsors one more time.
yeah,
Absolutely.
before we end up, Will, I just want to thank him because tonight, I think we've seen a different side of our sheriff. We've
Well, I've
seen
sat around and talked with
a
him a few
sheriff
times.
that is, well, I mean, but these people out here need to see him.
Oh, I agree.
They need to see what kind of person he is, what kind of heart he has, and we need to support him and be out there behind it because he truly cares about our people. And he has lived that life in front of us to be able to know that that's the best way to get respect or responsibility or developing people or changing people's lives like we've talked about right here is the example that he gives for us. And I want to thank him. I want to thank him for coming. And, you know, all the people that we've had on here, gang, you need to go back and look through all the other episodes that we've had on Facebook and YouTube and all that because, you know, we have a image of what we think our public figures are and people that we sometimes even place on a pedestal. But they're just folks like us. They got blood going through them. They have a mind to be able to think and this and that. And more importantly than anything else, they care about you and they care about us. And that's why we are here as we the people of Eastern Kentucky, because that is our heritage. And that's who we are. So with that, let's thank everybody one more time.
We got Track Outdoors, a local hunters and local web show in Salyersville, Kentucky. Granny made cheesecake. Get you some delicious cheesecake. Creekside Stitching and More, local feed, fishing, and more store. TechCollar.com. We got Jessica D. Williams Photography, amazing and beautiful photography shop in Salyersville, Kentucky. The Appalachia TCG Group, trading card and board gaming group in Salyersville, Kentucky. Parkway Peddlers Mall, Sloan Chiropractic, and the Rollton Community Council.
If you need your back crack, call Zach Sloan Chiropractic.
Well, thanks so much, Bill. We
Well, thank
appreciate
you.
you
I
coming out.
appreciate
Thanks
y'all
for your
having
time.
me.
We'll
Thanks
have
for
you
coming,
back,
buddy.
and we got some other things going, or you got some new things that you want to share with us or whatever. But
Yeah, once you get all the bus lined up and you want to talk about it afterwards and you know tell the impact that it's made and stuff like that, we'd definitely love to have you back.
I appreciate it, and I look forward to coming back.
that'd be great. Folks, we thank you. This is We the People of Eastern Kentucky, and we thank you so much for tonight, for tuning in with us. Stick with us next week. We'll have Judge Matt Wireman coming to you from the fiscal court. And with that, we say good night and God bless.